Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and this is News and Week in Review. We're going to be diving into a few things as usual, various links, various news, all that stuff. I'll have links to everything down below, as well as timestamped as usual. We're going to be going through the news, the topic of the week, which is a fun topic, by the way, as well as, of course, the Week in Review, games I've played, my 12x12 challenge update, all of that stuff. And with that, let's go ahead and start this off with news. Starting off, first and foremost, with Gold West. Gold West from TMG. TMG. Tasty Minstrel Games. I almost said too many. I've been hanging out with Chip Theory too much. But to Gold West from Tasty Minstrel Games, which unfortunately closed up shop, they are being reprinted. It's being reprinted by Trick or Treat Studios. So you can go ahead and check that out in case you want to go ahead and check out this game that would not otherwise be available past the secondhand market. Then speaking of reprints, we have Ethnos. Ethnos is basically a fantastic game with terrible production, ironically from CMON, that basically gives you an area control game as you lightly stack little pieces onto a board using various fantasy races. That is being reprinted as Archaeos Society, hopefully pronounced along those lines. This is coming to you from Space Cowboys, and hopefully it'll be good looking, because I always enjoyed Ethnos, but Ethnos is one of those games, and I have a bunch of these in my collection, where the look of the game genuinely holds back how often I have an interest in playing the game. And so Ethnos is one I eventually got rid of, despite really liking it. And so I'm very excited to see this one come back, hopefully with a better production, better art, better components, all that stuff. That's going to be Archaeos Society, previously known as Ethnos. Then we have Unmatched Adventures, Tales to Amaze, announced. Kickstarter campaign coming March 23rd. This is Unmatched Adventures, which is basically giving you more Unmatched, but also with a solo and co-op mode as well. If you want to check that out, that's going to be Unmatched. You can check that out March 23rd, coming from Restoration Games to Kickstarter. And over here we got the cover, we got some art. I've never loved Unmatched, but I am definitely more interested in it as a solo or cooperative experience. Definitely intrigued to try it out. Intrigued versus keeping it as a different conversation. I have too many games as it is. But yeah, that's Unmatched Adventures coming to Kickstarter later soon. We have Tim Chuon, who did another cinematic video. Tim Chuon in general does occasional cinematic, well, all his stuff is cinematic, but he does occasional cinematic top 10 lists, and the last one was insanely done. One of the best videos I've seen on the platform in general, at least as far as board game content goes. And he's done another one, a top 10 board games, a modern cinematic list going into 2023. As usual, highly recommend watching it. If you both want to see incredible quality, as well as just, a good list of games, that's going to be from Tim Chuon. You can check him out. Fantastic channel, does a great content, and does some of the best looking content you'll see in this space. Then we have Motor City. Well, new Kickstarter now live. That's for 20th Century Games. That makes sense. Okay. Motor City coming to retail. 20th Century Games, who generally distributes the games for Motor City, Three Sisters, Motor City, all that. They have Motor City coming to retail shortly, so if you missed the Kickstarter and you want to check that out, that will be available shortly. We have Steamforged Games doing Sea of Thieves. Sea of Thieves will be coming to crowdfunding at some point. They basically said, I think they said coming to crowdfunding. I'm pretty sure they did. But either way, Sea of Thieves from Steamforged Games is in some way, I believe, coming to crowdfunding or coming later this year. Does it say coming? Interesting teaser, City of Thieves, no real nuggets information. It could be it's not coming to crowdfunding. Now that I'm thinking about it, I believe, did they say coming to crowdfunding or did they just say coming later? Either way, Sea of Thieves from Steamforged Games. In some way, Sea of Thieves, if you don't know, is a video game. It's a video game that is now a board game, which is the first time we've seen a video game turned into... No, it's not the first time. We've seen a lot of video games turned into board games. In fact, Steamforged Games has done like 7 of them themselves. But I'm intrigued. I never played Sea of Thieves. I am interested. Steamforged Games in general has given me a good mix of games and different degrees of how much I like them, but I do generally enjoy them. And I am very curious to see... how it'll pan out as far as Sea of Thieves and what the gameplay is going to be like. Calling me interested, although I don't know enough information to be anything more than interested. And then lastly in the news category, we have Awaken Realms. Awaken Realms Next specifically, over on this GameFound blog over here, but Awaken Realms did a whole showcase showing Awaken Realms, what they've done, what they've continued to do, what their accomplishments have been this past year, as well as, is this the right thingy? Awaken Realms Next, yeah, this is the right one. But yeah, basically covering, is this the right one? No, this is the wrong one. This is the wrong blog post. I'm sorry. Go back to this one. Here we go. I got the right link now. Awaken Realms Next. They did a whole, basically, update showing you the things they've done, what they've delivered, what's coming up, 4 upcoming projects, including we have Stalker coming, we have Nemesis 3 coming, we have the dragon thingamajiggy, I can't remember the name of it, we have Story Vault, and then we have the dragon game, which I keep forgetting the name, Dragon Eclipse, that's what it was. And then some dice as well, and the Story Vault, which is going to be a bit of an accessory line from Awaken Realms. You can check out all that in the link down below, as well as I did a video on Friday. You can check that out too if you want a shorter summary of that. And that's what we have as far as our news and week in review, which brings us to the topic of the week, which is definitely 100% motivated by Nemesis 3. Sorry about the table. Sorry about that. But yeah, my topic of the week is And I don't know what to call this. I don't know what the video title will be called, but I know the general idea of what I'm going for here. And the general idea is, how many Zombicides, Nemesises, Marvel United, and all that does any one person really need? Or Marvel Champions, for that matter? This is a question I find myself challenged by, specifically because of Zombicide and Marvel United. And I don't have answers, and so it's just a conversation. More and more in the board game space, we're seeing titles leaned into with a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth edition of those titles coming out, and very often I'm glad to see iteration upon past titles. I'm glad to see things improved and streamlined and getting the next version of it. I like it that board games aren't dying. I don't like it that I have to choose sometimes between 14 versions of a game that I like, but I kind of want to own all of them, but I don't want to own all of them, if you know what I mean. This is a challenge I see with, again, many of these games. With Zombicide, right now I currently have 3 Zombicide systems. I have Black Plague, I have Undead or Alive, and I have the whole entire Marvel Zombies coming, and the next time Con puts out another Zombicide, I'm probably going to back it and hopefully just not keep it, which is a weird mindset to walk into something with. There's only so many Zombicides I can justify keeping, and so I, at a certain point, have to make a choice not to have them all, which for Zombicide, I made that choice a while ago, because they're not all worth keeping. Then we have Marvel United, which has Marvel United Season 1, Season 2, and Season 3 of Marvel United, and it's Marvel United, it's X-Men, and then it's Multiverse, and that's way too much Marvel United. I do not need it all, and the thing that scares me is, I'm pretty sure I'm going to back the next one when it shows up. And what if it's DC United? What if it's Star Wars United? What if it's, I don't know what's United, but they can keep throwing things. Harry Potter United. There are IPs that I enjoy, and it's a system that I enjoy, and if they keep throwing different versions at it, I kind of want it all, but I shouldn't have it all. We have Nemesis 1, Nemesis 2, Lockdown. We have Retaliation for Nemesis 3. How many Nemesis does any one person really need in their collection? Is this system, is this idea of having multiple systems in play, is it an improvement upon a past game? Is it about variations and you choosing your personal favorite? Is it about leaning into people liking one and wanting them all? I have Marvel United, I have Marvel Champions, which is a game that I play infrequently. I play Marvel Champions a few times a year, and I don't think it's worth it for what I have. There are game systems that I play infrequently, and I never hesitate, never pause. It doesn't matter if I don't play Cthulhu Left My Die in a year. I love that system, and I'm happy to dive back into it. Marvel United is so easy to play and table that I'm comfortable with what I own, although scared of what I will own. Marvel Champions is a game system that they keep putting out packs every single month, and they put out packs faster than I'm playing it. My cost per play on Marvel Champions is not good, because I'll buy 4 packs and play it once, buy 4 packs and play it once. It's almost at the point where it's not even in a board game. And I question whether I really need it all if I'm not playing it that frequently, and I continue to make that box heavier and heavier and harder to table. Make no mistake, I love the system, but it's a system that keeps growing to the point that I can't keep up with it, and I kind of want to get rid of it. I don't actually want to get rid of it, to be clear, but I don't know what else to do. When you keep being thrown content for something you love, you kind of have to make a choice. And your choices are threefold. I don't see a third option, really. Choice number 1 is you get it all and you simply figure out how to store it, play it, and all of that. Choice 2 is you get rid of it all because you kind of want it all, but once you don't have it all, you kind of use that as an incentive to have none of it, which isn't necessarily rational, but could be an incentive to not have another game, especially if you're overloaded with games. Choice number 3 is you pick and choose. I find I take different approaches at different points. Black Rose Wars is a game system that once I felt that what there was way too much, I chose to get rid of it instead. And I don't usually choose that, but I did. I chose to get rid of it instead. I chose to get rid of it entirely. With Marvel United, I've so far taken the path of keeping it all. With Nemesis, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to justify just keeping one and only one. With Zombicide, I've been able to pick and choose. And then with Marvel Champions, I'm wondering where that one falls. Is that one that's I'm going to get rid of it all? I think once I stop collecting Marvel Champions, I think that's the day I get rid of it. I don't think it's a system I would do halfway the nature of what it is. There are so many game systems getting reprints. I mentioned Black Rose Wars. We have Black Rose Wars and Black Rose Wars Rebirth. I still have Rebirth coming. I don't know what I'm going to do with that one. Maybe I'll keep it. I don't know. I'm going to have to find out. There are reprints, there are expansions, and there are new versions. And they all have different variations of them. And then there's just games that have so much content in the first Kickstarter or first game that it's just too much. I have 4 giant boxes of Oathsworn. What happens next there? Are they putting out more content? Is there going to be an Oathsworn 2.0? Not like a reprint, but like a full-on 2.0. Is that going to happen? We have 20 more adventures, new characters and all that. Do I want them both? We have Gloomhaven and Frosthaven, both giant boxes, and Crimson Scales and Forgotten Circles, all of those sitting up, taking up shelf space. More and more, one thing I've said over the years is the number of games I own at any different point hasn't drastically shifted. But the amount of space my games take up has. I'll get rid of a button shy game and then proceed to get Massive Darkness all in, and it is indeed massive. I have pledges for Master of the Universe coming in, a full-on pledge coming for that. All these games I have coming, there's so much stuff to them. And sometimes it's the right amount. Sometimes it's too much. And I still haven't figured out how to solve for that problem. Not Resident Evil, I like that game. Horizon Zero Dawn, a game system that I like. Is a game system that I'm wondering if I get rid of it because there's too many boxes for it and I don't play it enough to justify the amount of space it takes up despite myself enjoying it. There are too many of these games and I have to start making hard choices, and I do not know exactly how those hard choices manifest or play out. I do know that I frequently make hard choices every single month in games leaving my collection, but now I'm at a point where it's past the fact that whether I like a game or that's good enough, it's the fact that the games are great, but there's too much for them, and that pushes me towards not keeping all of it or not keeping any of it sometimes. I like Nemesis. I really want to play Nemesis Lockdown. That's really where my headspace is currently at. And I'm sure I'll want to play Nemesis Retaliation. In the meantime, I have dozens of big boxes. Tenaris Adventures, oh dear lord, do you see how many boxes there were for that? I managed to condense it down, but even condensing it down is still more than a full Callus Cubby, and that's really being brutal with what I'm doing. There are too many big boxes. I have 3 boxes of Marvel Dice Throne. I have 3 boxes of, not Marvel Dice Throne, I have 3 boxes of Dice Throne. That's an unnecessary amount of Dice Throne. I do not need all of that. But I like it. It's a fun game to table and play. I don't have answers here. This is more just a pondering of games throwing way too much content at us. And I'm not complaining about it either. My own self-control is my own problem. But sometimes that self-control does manifest in me just getting rid of all of it. Sometimes it gets up to a point where I'm like, well, if I'm not going to have it, I'm just not going to have it. Either way, I'm sure I'll play Nemesis Retaliation at some point. I'll definitely play Nemesis Lockdown at some point. And all these other games in the meantime, I'll just keep making decisions as I go along. Which ones stay? Which ones go? Just doing the best I can to make it all work. In limited space. Limited time, which is really the issue. Limited headspace, which is also an issue for rules. Just for the amount of rules you can hold on to at any given point. There's a lot of great games out there. We are 100% in the golden age of gaming. We've been here for the past 10 years. And things aren't slowing down anytime soon. So buckle up. Close up your wallets, and figure out where you're storing all those games. And with that, let's go ahead and dive into the week in review, starting off with my 12x12 update. Minimal update here. In fact, I think update-wise, as far as 12x12 stuff, I got in a play of Encyclopedia, which technically is on my 12x12 list, but I have like 20 plus games in my 12x12 list, and I'm just going to pick 12 of them ultimately as I go through them. Encyclopedia currently has 1 play, so maybe I'll hit the list. So that's been progress since last week, but only if I continue to play it. Past that, Tenaris is kind of static since last week. Last week I traveled a lot, so I've gotten less done. What I have done is I've made progress on Feast for Odin. I've officially finished my 12x12 for Feast for Odin, completely closed up. It's the first one, so expect a video on that. I say it's the first one because even though I have 12 plays of Arnak, I still want to play the Arnak solo campaign before I feel like it's a full diving into it completely. For Feast of Odin, I finally played Norwegians, and so now I've played it solo, I've played it at multiple player accounts, I've played it in, physically, I've played it online, I've played it with the expansion. The only thing I haven't done is play the expansion online. That's because you can't play the expansion online. I guess technically I haven't played the expansion solo either, but I don't feel the need to do that. But anyways, yeah, Feast of Odin. I will be diving into a full coverage of the entire game I'm like 17 plays deep at this point, but I only count 12 for the challenge. And so the main update is one game is officially and totally complete with no asterisks, no caveats, and no waiting on one more thing. So expect a video on that sometime in the next few weeks as I cover a Feast for Odin. Past that, moving on to what I played. What I played is going to have a few games that I'm focusing on, and this week I'm going to focus on the 3 games, and I covered this briefly in our weekly live together with Meg, but these are going to focus on the 3 primary games that I focused on these past 2 trips I did. I went to Chip 3 Games for a content creator, showing of Elder Scrolls, and then I also went to IV Games and went and played Fractured Sky. So to that end, we'll talk about those 3 games, starting off with Elder Scrolls. Elder Scrolls, very short version of this one, is really enjoyed playing through Elder Scrolls. It gave me very strong Too Many Bones vibes while also being very different. My biggest takeaway is that I think the experience is significantly easier to table and teach and get people up and running in the Elder Scrolls system, even if you don't know Too Many Bones at all. But then secondly, I also think that it is has some lack of character depth that Too Many Bones does have. When I hand you a sheet in Too Many Bones, I first have to teach you how Too Many Bones plays, and I have to teach you your own individual character that its own nightmare of understanding that also produces a degree of just pure accomplishment when you're done. And I don't think we have that in Elder Scrolls, at least not from what I saw. I think there's character depth and tons of ways to explore characters, but I think it's not necessarily as creative. You're not crafting bombs out of the carcasses of your enemies to throw them your way and having to learn how the system adapts and works with that. So I think the barrier to entry is lower, but so is the interestingness of the characters. My ultimate that takeaway is, based on where I am currently, is I think Too Many Bones is going to be the better game for me. But I think Elder Scrolls will be easier to table and possibly see more table time as a result. Overall, very strongly enjoyed it, definitely recommend it. I'll have more coverage on it too, that's just a cliff notes now. Then from there we have Fractured Sky. Fractured Sky I played with IV Games, and this is another one with strong positive and caveats. In Fractured Sky, I think that it gives you a area control game with a degree of bluffing and tableau building and multiple pathways of how and what you can choose as you try to figure out how to score as many points as possible across 5 rounds of play. I think the game gives you a lot of things to vie for, a lot of areas you want to compete over, excellent production quality, which you'd expect from IV Games, and just generally gives you an incredibly well done area control puzzle with a lot of bluffing in it, and an asterisk, the giant but there is, for me, I love what it's doing, and it's very reminiscent to City of Spies. I think City of Spies to me is going to be my preferred game because City of Spies comes with powers and abilities in them. Not in them, in the game. The spies have more powers and abilities, and so there's more manipulation and more interesting things happening in the game. And I think for Fractured Sky, I love what it's doing. I think it's great. I'll have full coverage on it later. I've basically done everything except play it at 3 players by now, so I'm going to play at 3 players before I cover it. But past that, I think Fractured Sky is excellent, and I think a lot of people will like it, especially if you like area control, and if you're comfortable with the fact that there is some bluffing and mind play in the game. But for me, I also, while I do like it and enjoy it, I do want a little bit more. I want some powers and abilities. I want something else to, keep the game interesting, because for me, 5 plays into it, and I feel like it's already repetitive with a caveat, meaning it's repetitive in the system that's happening, while you still have to obviously be adapting to the situation, the board state, what players are doing. So it never feels like it's the same game, but it feels like the thought process I'm going through as I play it has mostly been, I've mostly extracted what I'm getting from the game as far as the thought process. Really enjoy it. I want something, again, it hasn't even come out yet, but I'm like, I want an expansion. I don't think it needs an expansion yet. I think it also depends on who you are. For me, when I play a game, once I've played a game a certain number of times, I want to start exploring new things. Like Feast of Odin is a good example of this. With Feast of Odin, having played it 17 times, I still feel like I'm constantly exploring and tweaking my strategy in different ways. With Fractured Sky, I just don't feel that as much. I enjoy what I'm doing, but I feel like I've kind of locked in how I approach it, and now it's just a question of playing it as opposed to rethinking how I approach it. So the long conversation around the nature of variability, we actually had a conversation around this a few weeks ago, but that's Fractured Sky. And lastly, we have 20 Strong. 20 Strong, which is not the main focus of the weekend, but I got to play 20 Strong for the first time, and I really enjoyed it. I thought 20 Strong was excellent. It's basically a resource management game as you roll a bunch of dice and try to tackle the cards in front of you. As you tackle cards, you have to pay dice, effectively, your soldiers, to take down the cards, but then you also get various rewards from the cards, and you also get to refresh dice every single round based on your refresh rates, and you get to upgrade your stats in a variety of ways. And so the entire game comes down to a resource puzzle as far as expending resources, but having to try to keep your resources in check as you go through the cards. Very well done, very compelling. I really enjoyed it. I got to play through a full normal 20 Strong, and then also I got to see Too Many Bones and briefly play through Hopalong's 20 Strong, because there's these variations of them, and those drastically mix up the game. It's not the same game. It's a different game system when you dive into those different versions of the game. Overall, 20 Strong is fantastic. Very excited for that one. Looking forward to having, I know they joked about this doing the campaign. I'm looking forward to one day having a trove chest full of 20 Strong variations, either within the Chip Theory universe and or outside that universe, however they choose to explore it. I really like the puzzle they have on a very compelling solo game that forced me to re-examine how I approach it with each different one that I play. Very solid game. Very much enjoyed it. And with that, we're going to go into the weekend review, starting off with starting off with Sunday. I was going to say starting with what I played, but that's not true. Starting with Saturday. Saturday, I had a Temple Raider preview that Devin did. This is a preview of Temple Raiders. It's a fun game where you're trying to go through the temple. Actually, play this one. It's a game where you're going through a temple and trying to pull out various idols before the other players. Got strong can't stop vibes to it, with a little less push your luck and a little more dice rolling. Played it with my kids a few times, in fact, as well. That's Temple Raiders. Preview went up this past Saturday. Later on Saturday, we had a Reviving Kathmandu review. I gave the one a 3 out of 5. I thought it was fine in terms of what it did, but I was not overly compelled by what it did either. I thought the game gave you some simple bidding, some simple set collection, some gorgeous production value, but for me it was definitely on the lighter side. I think if you're looking for a lighter experience, it's great. For me, it was a little lighter than my own personal tastes. On Sunday, I had a few videos. I had a video called Sorry for Not Replying to Comments recently, which basically was me just saying, hey, I've been traveling, I've been busy, and I've been a little less on top of the comments than I usually am, which I got a lot of people who are like, hey, chill, like, it's all good. You put out 20 videos a week and it's all fine, and I appreciate that, but I also want to feel a connection to the audience. I like replying. I like replying and engaging to the comments. Like, I had one person who commented the video. I need to go find that. I didn't reply yet. I had one person who commented the video, why do you call this a conversation if you're just talking to the camera? And the answer I have is because it feels like a conversation. It feels like one. It doesn't, yes, sure, in the moment right now, I'm talking to a camera, a digital camera in front of me, and then you're watching this a few days from now, and it's completely disconnected. But it feels like a conversation. It feels like I talk to you, I tell you about myself, how I approach things, how I approach gaming, how I approach life. I get your comments back, I get your kind of feedback, and the people who stick around are usually the people who resonate with what I'm saying. The people who leave are usually the people who don't like what I'm saying or don't appreciate my approach to things, whether gaming, life, or the channel. And that almost inherently breeds a community of people who are like-minded. And so, to me, it feels like a conversation. I'll get people who pop on. Somebody shared, this is a fun one. I did an unboxing and rambling video of the Hunter's AD that got shared to their Facebook group. And, like, there are some people in this group who were not a fan of the fact that my unboxing videos are rambling videos. They're like, oh, he doesn't know anything about the game. He's just, like, just talking about other stuff. And I'm like, yes, I am. I mentioned that in the first few minutes. But that's okay, because yes, it is fine that my content did not resonate with them because that they are not the target audience. Someone shared a video to a group, maybe 2 people watched the video and thought, hey, I like this guy, and they started coming over here, and because they vibed with my approach to it. Other people are like, no, I'm here for, like, I want to know about the game and why you waste my time otherwise, and they just aren't a vibe. Again, the natural kind of point of what I'm saying is it feels like a conversation. It feels like the people who stick around are the people who align in some way, shape, or form, and I don't know. I like you guys. That's all I'm saying. I like you guys. Anyways, moving on to later on Sunday. Later on Sunday, I did a unboxing of Casting Shadows with my kids. It was a chaotic unboxing, an incredibly chaotic unboxing, as you'd expect when there are 4 kids in the video. But it's a game I basically got to play with them, so that's why it's there, and Casting Shadows, yeah. Then on Monday we had 2 back and not to back, going through a bunch of crowdfunding campaigns. There's a bunch of things on crowdfunding, on Kickstarter, on GameFound. Not back this week, but I think next week will be back campaigns, I think. I have to double check. But either way, a bunch of campaigns going through 2 back and not to back. There'll be a 2 back and not to back this week as well. The week after, I think I'm going to skip, just travel-wise. I just think it won't work out. So this week will be another one. Next week, probably not. Then on Tuesday, we had 3 videos as usual. We had a review for an Age Contrived. I gave it a 4 out of 5. I like it a lot, and it's complicated. My issue with that is, my issue is not that it's complicated. My issue is that it's complicated in a way that's not intuitive. So I really like it. I think it's really clever. Strong game on Kickstarter. But for me, my biggest complaint was the disconnect between just not realizing what I'm doing. But overall, very much enjoyed it. Later on Tuesday, we had a review for Carcassonne. This is a review that I filmed a while ago for WSBG and just never went up. But a review for Carcassonne. You can check that one out. Just because it's a review for Carcassonne, which I've been playing since before I got into gaming. It's one of a few games that I played before I ever got into board games. Because my brother-in-law bought it, and we played it and enjoyed it, and it was a fun game. And then we just stopped playing it, and then years later I got into board games and found out there's a whole world of board games, including Carcassonne, and it was fun for me. Later on Tuesday, or last day on Tuesday, I had a review for D.E.I, Divide and Impera from Ludus Magnus Studios. Gave that one a 5 out of 5. I'm loving it. I'm enjoying it. And this is one of those things where, inevitably and inherently, whenever I put out a 5 out of 5, especially in something where it's like a game that didn't get as much buzz or attention from others, there are always people who are like, don't like that. Like I had one person who posted like, oh, congratulations, like, GameFound preview goes up and you give it a 5 out of 5, this is a straight up lie, the whole thing. And listen, I get it. I do. I get the reason for suspicion, especially because, I mean, listen, the board game space is fascinating, and there's a lot of people who are covering games, and there's a lot of people who just think everyone's been bought or this or that. What I will say for things like that is, there are plenty of games that go up on GameFound that I don't give 5 out of 5s to, and there are plenty of games that are excited about that I don't give 5 out of 5s to. You have to look at the overall, like, unless, like, I got a big fat check from Ludus Magnus Studios for this one particular game, which, spoiler, I didn't, but past that, like, it's always interesting when you think people are lying. Why do you think they're lying about that, but nothing else? Or what is it that you think they're lying about? And again, I'm not talking to you, I'm just walking through it, but I'm always hesitant about being too positive, because then people are like, hey, you're this, you're that, you're whatever. Listen, I review, I don't know, what is it, 250 games a year I review, and I give up maybe 10 5 out of 5s. You don't have to like the ratio of that, but the ratio is definitely not loving everything. Anyways, I'm not talking to you, but I'm talking to that one person or like 2 people who commented. Anyways, moving on to Wednesday. Wednesday was a review for Wanderlust, which is actually supposed to go up on Tuesday, and I didn't have the file and I was traveling, and so it went up Wednesday instead. But Wanderlust is currently on Kickstarter. You can check that out. A review for Wanderlust went up on Wednesday. I gave that a 3.5. It's very much a Ticket to Ride style game, or a Trekking the World style game. I very much enjoy what it's doing as far as the card selection and trading cards in. It doesn't have the blocking of Ticket to Ride, but it does have various goals that make it interesting in its own right. Then later on Wednesday, we had a live show. Myself and Meg. Devin's currently traveling, but myself and Meg did a kind of recap of the Content Creator Weeks, talking about Elder Scrolls, talking about Fractured Sky, talking about 20 Strong, and then of course whatever anyone else asked, because that's what we do in these weekend review, in these live shows. And then lastly, on Wednesday, we had a Marvel United Blue vs. Gold. This is a playthrough I had with Devin of Marvel United Blue vs. Gold, the 2 teams. Didn't love it overall. Like, I like a lot of Marvel United content, but I didn't like the fact that in Blue vs. Gold, you can watch the video, but without getting too much into it, you'll see there's a reason semi-co-op has a potential problem, and that potential problem was very much explored in this video, so you'll check that out. But overall, I'm loving Marvel United and all the playthroughs I'm doing with Devin, like one at a time, like knocking out different modes, but this particular mode is not one that I see myself going back to. Then later on Thursday we had upcoming campaigns for March, basically going over the upcoming crowdfunding campaigns for March. There are a lot of them. March is busy. I don't know when things slow down, but March is busy. You can check that out. There's going to be a lot of things happening in March. Either way, check that out. And then on Friday we had a recap of Awaken Realms Next, as well as an unboxing for Vindication. Hopefully. I say hopefully because I haven't filmed that one yet. But Awaken Realms Next and an unboxing for Vindication going up Friday. Which brings us to today. Today we have 2 things going up. Again, hopefully we have a preview for KO Corral coming from Devin. Devin will be doing another preview on the channel. This is not a Kickstarter game. This is a retail game. You can check that out. There'll be links and stuff down below. And then past that, additionally, there is a review for Earth going up, hopefully again, a review for Earth from Inside Up Games will be going up on the channel as well. Which brings us to next week. Next week we'll have a few things. Hopefully there's a 7 Wonders vs. 7 Wonders duel, Play This Not That, that I filmed with Devin, and then additionally there'll be a Board Games Leaving for February, Games Leaving for February video going up probably tomorrow, I want to say. You can check that out. That's basically going through February and getting rid of games. A lot of harder ones there. January was a lot of games, but not a lot of hard choices, and February was fewer games and a lot of hard choices. That'll be going up Sunday. Which brings me to the games on the table. Games on the table. We have Let's Go to Japan, hoping to dive into this one before the crowdfunding campaign goes up. And then we have Huang, which I could not get into in time, unfortunately, but I'll be playing through this hopefully this weekend. I'm playing through it, and this one is basically it's a redone version of Yellow and Yangtze, which is a redone version of Tigers and Euphrates. I've played Tigers and Euphrates. I have not played Yellow and Yangtze. I'm good to go on the rules. I'm ready to go. I just need to sit down and play it. That's going to be Huang. And then we have Talents for Tussle, which I'm hoping to sit down at the table as well, because they have the expansion coming up, or one of the 2 expansions. Are they both expansions here? I don't really know. This is Mysterious, Nefarious Neighbors, and Odd Jobs. So maybe it's 2 expansions. Either way, that should be going up. These will be the games I hope to be diving into this week. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and call this. This has been your News and Week in Review. Thank you for sticking around. As always, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and I hope you have a good one.